And I am joined this week by Imogen.
Hi, Joey.
Neil.
Hello.
Dom.
Hi there.
The joined this week thing has started to lose some of the impact to it, given that it's been the same four of us for about the last 3 years. I've only just realised that for the
At least you've moved away from the surname thing. We did that for the first 2 years, didn't we, I think?
Did we?
Yeah.
I suppose it's about, what other podcasts have taught us is that kind of brand recognition is important to establish early doors. And so now I guess you're such a recognisable brand, Neil, that actually you could be represented by a kind of McDonald's I'm loving it, rather than even saying the name now.
Why hasn't this happened then?
30.
Come on.
We're only moments away from creating the Neil Allison jingle, as opposed to even referring to you as just Neil. Guys, we digress before we've even started. Let's do moments of the week. And I'm going to throw to the person that looks most ready, which just happens to be Imogen.
Woo! I was thrilled that not only did we rob Luton of any joy, but also Stephen Yaxley-Lennon went to prison on the same day. So that was fantastic. Really made my day. And I'm sure that's why Mark did it.
Now, given that we'll probably talk more about the football henceforth after this, let's just quickly do some Yaxley-Lennon chat. The other fantastic thing is that he handed himself in.
Yes, so scared, running scared.
so guilty was he by things that he had done to himself as well, bear in mind. He didn't have to even wait to be arrested. Clearly, he'd gone to his lawyer and said, what happens here? And he's gone, well, you've got to turn yourself in. Like, it's not... Yeah. And I always, when I think about some of the ills or the injustices in the world, it always does cheer me up to think about how much he gets the shit kicked out of him in prison.
Yeah. Let's hope so. On a daily basis.
Apparently he does. Apparently it's not a nice time for him on the many occasions that he's been. It's not a nice time for him, which is a kind of cosmic justice, I think, isn't it? More than anything else, as well as actual justice. Neil, your moment of the week.
There were loads of good things that happened, weren't there? And I couldn't stop thinking though about all the unseen stuff, and specifically Milan van Avak's just wild reaction to the goals and his noises that they make. Joey, have you seen Unseen yet?
I've literally got it on at the moment. I've got to the point where the chef does his little prepared line where he says it's more bad Thai than pad Thai, and nobody has any reaction.
Oh no, that's a shame. That is a shame. But no, it's a little bit later on, I'm afraid. So you have to wait. I won't ruin it too much for you, but there comes a point where both after the goal, but then also I think at the end of the match, Milan makes quite an exuberant sort of response to the joy that he's feeling, and he's just brilliant, and he's just what a great chap he is. He's just, and there's more of that. Like, he's a bit of a Wally in one of the earlier Unseens when they go to Haas and he's messing up the wheels and just all that sort of nonsense. But we called for it, didn't we? We called for more behind the scenes stuff, and we've had some gold last couple of weeks, some absolute beauties.
We said content, please, and the club have absolutely delivered.
Oh God, it's been some great content recently.
Obviously, we will be talking largely about the content as opposed to the 6 goals in 2 games that we've just scored.
Sod that.
Dom, moment of the week?
So I think the sort of main moment of the week is probably just Middlesbrough fans just calling us their bogey team. To put that into context, our win on Saturday was the 3rd time we have ever won the Brookside Stadium. You don't know what a bogey team is. That's not a bogey team. Try haven't won at Swansea since the iPhone was invented. Try haven't won at Preston since the game of football was invented. That's not a bogey team. That's a mild annoyance. That's an itch in your nose.
Bad year.
A speck of dust.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, are we?" I must have missed that. But then you're right; it's not even true.
Yeah,
it really is.
The only team that I think of as legitimately causing problems against all the time is Barnsley. I think that's probably, if you look at that's the only time I can ever remember going to a game and being like, I think we're all right here just because of the name. I mean, I haven't really got a moment of the week. It's just all good, isn't it? I'm going to have to do the arbitrary thing and say it's quite good to go 2-0 down and win 3-2. I didn't mind that. I mean, that seems like quite a long time ago now, doesn't it?
We do it a lot, don't we? I remember a period in my life where being 2-0 down was the end of us, where just simply game over. And yet, I don't know, am I making it up? Like in the last 5 years, we found a way to be, when we're 2-0 down, to come back from 2-0 quite a bit, or a lot more than we used to in the old noughties. Anyway,
so we did it twice against Peterborough, but I think that might outdate 5 years, but only by a little bit.
I class it as the same, but yeah, we did it there. Like even stuff like, didn't we do it against Blackburn away and stuff like that? Like I just feel like 2-0 is no longer the score it used to be when it involves us, and that's nice to know, isn't it? And we did it. Obviously, we did against Man United. Didn't win in the end, but that still counted. So yeah, and also the other thing about the other day was, it wasn't a 2-0 where we looked like we should have been 2-0. We were playing well. We were doing a good job. So I didn't feel like it was a 2-0 game. So I felt perfectly confident in our ability to, aside from the fact that we've kept losing loads of matches, if we got something, we could certainly sort of push it and get those goals that we needed. So yeah, all good, I think, Joey.
So let's go for first big question that I'm going to chuck to Imogen. Is how much do you read into these 2 wins?
Well, as I tweeted, and I don't often tweet, Joseph, when Mark is ready, and Mark is ready, and it's on. This is it now. The surge begins. I half expected Mark to trot out in a little gladiator outfit, asking us if we were not entertained. I mean, it's happening. It's fine. Everything is fine now. We're mid-table. I haven't even looked at the table this season, because why would you? And then we started winning. I thought, now's the time. We're mid-table. Everyone calm down. What's everyone stressed about? It's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure.
Because
2 wins on the bounce.
I'm not sure what's happened.
Oh, we're winning. That's all you need to know.
Do you think the Middlesbrough felt a little bit like Blackburn?
No, I don't.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you for why. I'll tell you for why. Because it it succeeded another win. So that's a string of 2, 3 unbeaten. That's promotion form.
This is going to be a very short podcast as going away. I think people will be very thankful for, but I guess we've got to give the people what they've paid for, which is fuck all. Don, would you care to kind of elaborate a little bit on whether you feel that it is simple fortune that's caused 2 wins, or whether or whether this is indicative of a kind of a turnaround?
So I think there's an extent to which both can be true, because I think on the one hand, we are playing better, and I think that really started against Luton, where just from minute 1 you could just tell the team was just switched on, and that the performance of Sims and Wright in that game I thought was really indicative of a fire being lit in the team's belly, and that just utter determination of that performance embodied by just Sims just powering through, even with a poor first touch, he was just going, I'm just going to keep going, and just that whole determinedness kind of follow through the rest of the performance with the way we just sort of just kept on plugging away at Luton.
Just before you move on from Wright and Sims, so I remember you tweeting after the game and during the game about, I think at half time you'd said, this is by far the best that these 2 have played in and I completely agreed with you. Sims especially came out like a man possessed. Why? Well, I don't know. So I don't think we have the answer, do we?
No.
I think we had a little sense of it though. What was the game before that? Was it QPR?
Yeah,
Not saying it exactly for this, but I got a sense in QPR that there was a hint of defiance from him. I felt like he was feeling something. He was feeling like, I've got to get moving. And even that we discussed last time about that chance he had where he should have passed it, didn't pass it, had the shot. It seemed like actually maybe it was a sign that he was willing to put himself out there a little bit more. So it was I kind of saw a mini continuation of that, where he just seemed more likely to thrust himself into the match a bit more, recognizing that actually you can't just amble your way through these games. At the moment, we needed somebody who was going to step up, and whether it's, I don't think it's all pure sort of natural ability. A lot of it is just determination sometimes, and that's what came, I think, from him the other. I got a sense of determination from him, which is fairly rare for him, isn't it? He doesn't look the most determined players, but when he does, and 6'4", he should be able to show it, and I think he did.
I mean, I'm high on the smell of my own opinions all the time, obviously, but I just thought that I think there's a genuine question about. I think that's a really smart answer in terms of conjecture, which is what I was asking for. But the thing was not only how he started the game, but also what happened after he scored, which was then that intensity seemed to double. And I don't know whether there is some sort of tacit master plan involved here, which is if you score on the 54th minute in a game where you're certain that you would have been dragged off on 60, does it fill you with the excitement and joy of a man knowing that he's got the rest of the game to have a run at? But seriously, is that it? Like, I don't know whether whether he's fallen ass backwards into this or whatever. but I did think, in terms of what I'm alluding to with my own opinions, is Sims' vibes and mentality. This is a guy who, if his head's in the right place, and I don't think this is a revolutionary opinion, but if his head's in the right place, he's good to go. And you just got to hope now that, injury aside, he can come back, and that's the only shame of this, isn't it? And really fucking get going again. But I thought they were class all game, even aside from the kind of the sloppiness of some of the Luton game. When we got a chance to let them two run at people or chase down people or anything, we just looked dangerous like they did last season. I loved it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dom, carry on. Rest of the Luton game.
Yeah, and I think, for the second half, we just found a way to play through a team and look purposeful in possession, which we've really struggled to do for much of the season. And I think part of that has possibly comes from Sheaf being more fit than he has been since returning from injury. Talk coming on made a difference. Someone who's got just such great quality on the ball, and just really want him just playing on the edge of the penalty area, looking to make a difference. Having him there making an impact, and then just that really nice hub on the left, with Torp involved, but also Binks carrying out from left centre back. He was really positive. Luton were leaving him space to run into, and he really attacked it. And I think that stretched the game. I think, just be able to actually stretch a team with possession is something we haven't done for most of the season. You're starting to see on the other side Milan Van Evik look much more involved in the game as a wing back. He also had Rodoni sort of just plugging away in the wing back position, where it's kind of a weird one because I don't think he was really doing things you kind of expect to see from a wing back in terms of holding the width and trying to get crosses in, but it was just having another good footballer on the pitch just kind of helped, just someone with just good touches in tight areas who could commit players, and that just helped to overwhelm Luton. And it's also helped that we have quite clearly worked on set pieces over the past couple of weeks. It helps that we got Torp and Rodoni, who's really good set piece takers. But we're also just seeing some really just smart little moves, little set plays that we're trying to do, short corners, long corners, keep teams guessing, and that's really starting to pay off. Also, we are trying to do something with kickoffs, as we've kind of seen with Brentford earlier in the season in the Premier League, who just kept on scoring from kickoffs. There's actually an intent when we take kickoffs now.
I've not clocked that. What are we doing?
It's just, I mean, I think it's just like kind of the standard thing where you just like line like 5 players up on the left side, ready to just try and play a ball in quickly into the opposition half, rather than typically we're just like, okay, we've got the ball now, it's a kickoff, what do you want? So I think, we've just seen some real intent. I think also just seen like some really like nice, handy combinations between players building. And then also when we go on to the Middlesbrough game, is substitutes from the bench being able to just change things up a little bit. And it almost feeling a little bit like seamless, where against Middlesbrough, Sakamoto comes on for Torp, different kind of player, does a few different things, and then players are just very quickly understanding what's expected of them from the new like roles demanded of them based on who's on the pitch. So Sakamoto helped create that overload with Mason Clark, which led to the cross for Wright. And it just seems like, from looking in a position where we just kind of look like a sort of loose affiliation of our constituent parts, that there's suddenly just like a real sense of clarity to what we're doing. And it feels like players are starting to develop a role within the squad, within the team, within certain portions of the game. I think that's what feels really different now compared to when we last won against Blackburn, where it was just like, let's see if this works and if we can build on that. This now feels like, it feels like this team has been coached, to put it simply, and that's kind of been like one of the main concerns early in the season. And I guess it's just one of those things which takes time, because there's new voices on the training ground and a few new players, and it just feels like things have clicked into place, rather than we've just so happened to have won games, but also luck has been a factor. I mean, luck is always going to be a factor.
On Luton, Dom, would you allow me to play devil's advocate for a moment, please?
Sure.
Because I don't disagree with anything that you've said there, but I also think there is something else that happened. It's a constant joy to be watching a game with Paul Knowles, and occasionally he is right. And when Rodoni came on for the second half against Luton, Binks brought the ball out almost immediately, and Paul was like, that's a lot of space for him to have. Like straight away. And then Paul being Paul, every time that David gave the ball to Binks, he was just like, are they just going to let him just go as far up the pitch as he wants every time they give him the ball? Because our good friend CCFC Analysis, somebody had mentioned about, I wonder whether Rodoni would make a good left wing back for the rest of the season. And he was like, well, he didn't play left wing back. And they were like, yeah, he did. He came on for Kitching. And then it showed that he put a heat map up for him that showed that he didn't once like go in our own. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But that like this Rodoni was playing explicitly left wing. And the devil's advocate point that I'm making is, I do wonder to what extent Luton beat themselves that in the second half of that game, because that sending off was totally needless, and led almost directly to the third goal. And they sat freakishly far back. And in the same way that I was complaining about who did we go up against recently and then draw 1-1, we broke really quickly. Was it QPR?
Yeah.
Broke really quickly and needed all them chances to put it in. And then I was complaining afterwards, saying I was really excited because that was how the goal that I wanted us to score. But then we seemed to have no plan for how we were going to then get a set. Like, we didn't try and do it again. We just sat back with nothing. I thought Luton did exactly the same thing. Despite the fact that they scored after that, for the second half, it just looked like they're like, all we'll do is sit back. And they didn't even really sit back. It wasn't like they just we still got behind them too often. And I just think we were very lucky that we came up against a side that were as shaken for confidence as we were, who just absolutely shot themselves in the foot. And what isn't being fair with that is all the stuff that you've said, Dom. We did look loads better. I thought Sakamoto looked really, really good in the number 10 slot. I thought it was really good. And Torp. And again, I've complained about the substitutions so far this season that have seemed superfluous. But strangely, Torp and Sakamoto seem to have dovetailed really nicely as a substitution. I don't know whether I can see nods there. Is that a consensus for once? Or
yeah, I think more so probably in the Luton game, in the sense where they both had an impact and they both applied themselves in a way which did good stuff. I don't necessarily think Torp had his best games against Middlesbrough. It's slightly different, whereas Sakamoto then comes on and does this thing, which is, it's a thing that we then have to get used to, because you know what happened after the Luton game. Everybody's then saying, oh, Torp's got to start. He's got to start. Well, you know, Sakamoto did all right as well. He's not like he wasn't doing it. He was doing good work as well. So if anything, it's simply what we've been talking about for a long time, which is we have options and we have, depending on the nature of the match, the ability to bring somebody in and let them do that job in the number 10. And it's just nice, like you say, that they've shown in those two games at least that they can be interchangeable, because up to this point, we've basically assumed Radoni's the only option there, or at least gone with that for the whole season. But it's nice when not even a plan, it definitely wasn't a plan, but something comes together and you're like, oh, okay, now we've got something we can work on. And that's unusual, because a lot of the time we assume everything that happens on the pitch is done on purpose. And I think based on everything that's happened in the two games, some of it will be on purpose, but Liam Kitchen not working on the left side and then suddenly Radoni being our left-sided player, that isn't by design. That's just kind of, that's come together and we're like, okay, we'll go with that. And yeah, I'm all right with it.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be the final thing I was going to say on Luton, right? Is I think I texted you lot at half time and said, this is like when George Costanza's trying to get sacked from the Yankees. Babe Ruth's clothes and like he's naked on the field or whatever. When I saw the first 11, I was like, okay, I can't quite figure out what this is. And then I was like, Liam Kitchens at left wing back. I was like, what are you doing? It
was mad.
If we lose that game, I think there's probably quite a lot more being said about Liam Kitchens starting at left wing back.
Yeah, he shifted it quickly, but before the game it was a bit balmy, because you hear the team, and I was listening to the radio on the drive up, and you've got Rob Gurney saying, and we're hearing it's Liam Kitchen left back, and everybody in the car's like, Rob's talking nonsense. What are you on about? Never in a million years is it going to be him at left back, when we had all these legitimate formations which could quite easily be there. And then they started set up before the match, and he stood out the left, and he's ever so left, isn't he? What's happening? And then they kick off, and it obviously didn't work, but you know, he tried something, they planned something, it didn't work, he switched it. He switched it quickly, and we'll never try that one again.
And deserves enormous credit. And as you say, this to some extent has fallen ass backwards into the success of Jack Radoni, left wing back / left winger. And that is what it is. But somebody said to me the other day, this really made me laugh, was making a very serious point about switching to from a back two to a back three, and saying, if we accept that our centre backs are probably the worst sort of general quality that we have within the squad, I'm not sure that putting more of them on the pitch improves things. But that was directly before that game where we'd gone from 2 centre backs to 3, and then in that game he was just like, put them all on.
Yeah,
get on it. Works. You need the right amount. You just, if they're not that good, stick all 4 on and just see what happens. Fuck it. Let's just find out. It did feel a little bit like he was like, I have tried literally everything else now. This is the last this is the last option I've got of players together. But
we did wonder on the train up. My friend is obsessed with some poster on Sky Blues Talk who leaks information. The
Saddlebrain
team, him, and he had posted about Kitching being at left wing back, and we did the same. He went, I don't think so. I don't think Mark's. I don't know if you're familiar with football, but I'm not sure that's going to work. But then I thought, maybe it's genius. Maybe they just thought they will never expect this. They're going to look at this team sheet and go, nah, like that. Has he created a new formation? Like, where's he going here? Where would we put him? There is nowhere. We were looking at it and there wasn't anywhere that he fitted in, to the point where we were sort of moving him into midfield in a sort of a weird kind of holding role that it wasn't working. So when they took him off, they took him off at half time?
It was half time, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, let's not forget, sorry to interrupt, he was on a booking, and if I'd have remembered, I went down for a pint at half time, and as I was going down, I was like, I have to put 20 quid on him getting sent off in this game.
Well, I think, Dom, it was your post-match. You were talking about, I thought very generously, you said not a lot was being created down the left wing, or the kitchen wasn't creating much. No one was giving him the ball. It was almost like they were going, nah, yeah. Liam, you're a class guy, but absolutely not.
Did you see him
on... stay there.
Did you see him on Sheaf's chance? Venavac passes it back to the edge of the box, and Sheaf misses, and all you've got is Liam Kitchen at the back post going, why haven't you not passed it to me? We're like, Liam, yeah, you have some qualities. And it to you on the volley, back post is not one of them. But yeah, I don't even think it was so much like, I always say we're kind of laughing about it, like kind of falling into the way it worked. But I think the big shift was the fact that QPR, we were heavily sort of low confidence. They were as well. And we scored a goal, should have boosted our confidence, and it really didn't. We looked low confidence the whole match. There was something different against Luton, whereby the one thing we didn't do was allow the fact that we inexplicably gone 2-0 behind to shift our approach at all. We just played the same. We knew we were playing well, and somehow, out of nowhere, there's no right reason for us to be playing that well when we've just gone 2-0 down. Everything would suggest that you're just then going to go get battered because everything is going against you. And it was just a bit odd. Like there was an applause at half time. We went in, people kind of acknowledged that we were, which is unusual. Like you don't get that, especially given everything that's been going on. And then we came out second half and just played the same way. And it's just like, I always talk about like tenacity and relentlessness. And it's like, there we go. That's that. That's the thing I'm talking about. That's just, it's happened. What are you going to do? You're going to feel sorry for yourself, or are you actually going to step up and keep doing what you're doing? And they got it right.
I do think you've got to take what players say with a pinch of salt when they're talking to, club sponsored, like club owned media or whatever. But Dovin made a point on his thingy, didn't he? On his lodge diary, where he spent 4.5 minutes of saying nothing. That he said that the players were surprised when they came off at half time at the reaction, and then it gave him confidence. They say he was just like, we felt really encouraged by the fact that I thought we'd get not booed off, but I thought we'd get like a negative reaction, and we didn't. And actually, that led us. The other thing I'll say about the Luton game in terms of mentality and vibes, which I think has been a big theme throughout this season so far, is when they celebrated the third goal, I thought something had happened over on that side of the pitch. Like I thought like it had kicked off or something, because the celebrations were wild, weren't they? Like they got right into the crowd, and it was very like cathartic looking. Do you know what I mean? Like it seemed like it was a big, like a powerful celebration. And like I said at first, I thought they'd run over to kick. But actually, you were like, oh, you needed that goal, didn't you? Like and again, you can read too much into things, but actually, we know these are good players because we've seen them be brilliant last season, right? So they haven't gone bad overnight. So the only thing that happens then is mentality and circumstance. And so you're hoping that it might just be as simple as just you get that goal, you beat Middlesbrough 3-0. You might just have a load of players now that go, do you know what? I've just remembered how good I am.
Yeah. It seems rogue in the world of tactics and everything. And obviously tactics are a thing, but personality is just as important in terms of delivering on it. And we see it with especially some of our players, like someone like Haji Wright. If he believes he's the best player on the pitch, he will be the best player on the pitch. And if he's not really fussed or it's not going his way, he'll be a little bit different. And I think we're in this moment now where you have to sort of emphasize that, and they all have to embrace it, the way they're feeling. We've got Derby at home tomorrow. It's a perfect opportunity for them to really sort of stick their chests out and say, right, yeah, we're on the move now. So it's really, I'm really intrigued to see how they go about that match. I have everything would suggest that they're going to go ahead and really thrust themselves onto it. Whether that happens or not, we don't know, and we might be back here in 2 weeks and criticising them again. But that's what they should be doing.
Yeah. Did any of you read the Sky Sports article on Gyökeres today? Yesterday.
He's scored 2, by the way.
Has he?
Is he? Yeah,
he's gone mad.
What a beautiful boy. And Vivash was quoted as he was talking about once they'd signed him from the loan signing to the permanent signing, and they said it was like they'd signed a different player, and he came in with this confidence. He was, they told him he was going to be the main man. They believed in him, and he became that person. And we see that seems to be our thing really since Robins came back. You look at McNulty and the way that Robins just constantly believed in him, even though everyone else couldn't understand what they saw in him until about February. Godden as well. And then with Wright and Sims, we saw it so strongly last season. And we're seeing it again this season. Neil, I think you're absolutely right about Wright, in that if he thinks he's king, he will be king. Sims seems to need a little bit more love and nourishment, but if they can instill that in them a little bit earlier this season, might make our rider quite a bit easier.
Do you know what is an interesting supposition as well? Is that Wright has been much improved since the last international break, and the last international break was the first time that he worked with a manager that I would say is one of the kings of vibes, which is Pochettino.
Yeah,
it's all about the lemons.
That's a guy who I think is basically operating on a level of, which I think is completely valid, by the way. It's not a criticism of, you're amazing, go and show them how amazing you are. Do you wonder whether there is a little bit of Haji Wright that's come back and been like, oh yeah, I've just remembered actually.
Yeah, I just remembered that. Brilliant.
Okay. I'm actually quite, I know I've never had the ball under control, but it's never caused me a problem in the past. But yeah, I think, I'd say another thing that's interesting on the vibes conversation is I listened to a thing that was talking about, do you remember the 4-year plan, the QPR documentary from about 10 years ago?
Yeah. About
when Flavio Briatore bought the club and Bernie Eccleston was there, and kind of what a shit show circus it was, is that had a happy ending in that, like, the 12th manager that they hired in 4 years was Neil Warnock. And then they got Adel-Tarabt, and they had that very famous championship team that went up on the strength of having Sean Derry do all of Adel-Tarabt's work, and Adel-Tarabt was a genius. But in that documentary, the kind of the summary of what Warnock did that 11 preceding managers weren't able to do was sort of came in and just went, "Is everyone all right?" He was just like, "It's all right. We've got this good. This guy. He's good at football. You give him the ball, and we'll win. But you're all really good. We'll probably just be fine." And everyone was like, "Oh, well, it's all right then." And I do think that we've talked about it a little bit before. And this is probably not the finest analyst outlet that you're going to find. I do think we overcomplicate football, and I say we're not involved in the world of football. We overcomplicate the analysis of it, but I think that football overcomplicates itself. I do wonder, vibes, just go vibes, guys.
And it will be everything. Like, people, confidence is the one. And you think about it, confidence will affect every single decision you make. Whether it's, I'm going to pass this, or whether I'm going to be able to control it. Every single thing that you do is dependent on kind of how you're feeling about it. And it's always going to be a blend. There'll then be, where are you placed on the pitch, all that sort of stuff. But I think people get bogged down too heavily into the specifics of the patterns and the tactics, but also it doesn't matter how your tactics and your patterns are working if you've got a player up front who's just not feeling it. It's just not going to work for you. So it's never one thing. It will never just be, he's confident, it's fixed. But it's such a thing, and I think a lot of people dismiss it because they can't understand it. And that's the biggest thing. We're all desperate to understand things, and the only things we understand are things that have patterns to them. Well, actually, confidence doesn't have a pattern. You just, any given moment, you suddenly go from being the player that you believe you are to suddenly missing a chance, and you then don't score for another 6 games because it's in your head. And then you've got someone like Ellis Sims, who is like the anti-confidence man, who, against Wolves last season, he missed that one on the line, and a minute later, he just becomes this absolute maniac. He just gets the ball, drives on, sends it right. It's like, that you couldn't predict that. You'd think, oh, he's going to go into a shell. It does different things to everybody, and yeah, I think we have to acknowledge it.
To seamlessly transition us on to, I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to talk. I got the sense that nobody wants to talk about Middlesbrough, right? I think we've talked enough about football, have we?
Yeah.
But what I will say is, was it nice? Did anyone else find it nice to have Passgate put to bed? Because when Eccles pulled through, I was like, there's a guy dangerously open to your left. If you shoot and don't score, there's going to be a lot of conversation about whether you should have made a quite unrealistic 20-yard.
I love how he mentioned it. Did you hear his interview? He's like, well, I saw F to the left-hand side, and he's like, well, I should put it in, really. I was like, no, that's the attitude.
Of course,
absolutely.
I mean, he might be there, but it's fine to have a go as well.
I was like, yeah. So that hopefully is the death of
Pascal.
Well, there we go. I mean, has anybody got? Do we? I mean, I'm joking, sort of half about the Middlesbrough game. Does anyone want to sort of? Has anyone got any thoughts on that game?
I don't know why I can't remember much of it, because I was like absorbed quite heavily by it. But I just feel like it was a strange one, wasn't it? Because,
I'll be honest with you. That sounds like a lie.
I
actually was. I don't know. I don't know why I can't remember anything about it, because I was actually absorbed by it.
I genuinely was, though. It's not fair. I was, and I can't remember anything I wanted to say. The thing I was going to say was about the oddness of going down to 10 men and all of the stuff that we were doing beforehand.
Completely fell off.
What happened? Like, how can it be? That's another example of, like, there's no good reason for us to suddenly go from dominating the match to go suddenly having more space. I'm like, no, we're gonna, because it wasn't. I don't think it was particularly great performance second half. Not for a lot of it. We were struggling to really kind of do anything with it, and it was only kind of the goal which then relaxed everybody. But that was the only point I wanted to make.
I think of all of the fabulous writing that Dom does, is my favourite thing of yours might be your halftime tweet, which I think usually is a really, really sort of perfect example how sort of less is more. Usually, if I want to know, if I'm not at a game, I had to watch that game walking to and from a Sainsbury's and a child's birthday party. So I wasn't totally absorbed in it in the same way that Neil definitely.
Of course.
But the one thing that was clear to me was that it did go completely to shit after Hackney got sent off. And and again is that because I was sort of in and out of it, is I was a bit like, am I going mad here? Because like I can't fully follow it. Then I read your tweet at halftime. You were like, they've lost their goddamn minds. I've got a feeling you might not have even got to halftime before you tweeted that, but either way is that the point still stands. That I was like, all right, it's not just me then, because this is mad. Like, I don't know how you've forgotten all of this stuff. I just thought, again, playing devil's advocate on this, I just thought that Middlesbrough looked good for 3 goals in the same way as we looked good for 3 goals.
I don't know about... Really?
They had a player sent off on, 24 minutes?
Yeah.
I think... I know, you know, I'm not scared of a big opinion. I think that's had quite a big impact on the game.
yeah, obviously.
But I thought they had enough chances in the first half that you could describe them as on top for that half.
No, I'm not sure. I agree with that. I think certainly before the sending off, I think overall, position and I think they had chances and stuff. But before that game-changing moment, I think we were I feel like we're the threatening ones, really. We were doing the bits that really looked like we were the better team.
But I think this is possibly this is a sort of mechanical argument here. I think that one of the things that is problematic for us is we often this season have almost been deceivingly on top as far as I'm concerned. But that if you keep letting teams have chances, they're going to take one of them eventually. I do think that keeps happening, doesn't it? Luton's a really good example of it.
Yeah, we were solid.
We were on top at 2-0 down.
Yeah. What about if you're both on top? What'd you do then? What if you're both having chances? Like, that's kind of what happens, isn't it?
I believe that's called a lucky Pierre. You still need somebody in the middle. I know what you mean vaguely. I just thought that and admittedly, my opinion here is worth 1%. That's why I'm shouting it so loudly. That I just thought that the Middlesbrough game felt a little bit like the Blackburn game in that it was a 3-0 win that was maybe 1 in 50 chance of that being the outcome of that game.
I don't know. I genuinely think that the Blackburn one felt like a mistake. We won by accident. like Middlesbrough, I think we had a bit more about us in terms of overall assertiveness. I think, well, it did go quiet for a portion of it, but I think start and end, we did what we needed to do. I feel like the Blackburn one genuinely was just a inexplicable 3-0. There's no real reason for us to win that match 3-0. I thought they felt quite different to me, quite different.
Imogen, how absorbed were you in the Middlesbrough game?
Got very little, I'll be honest. Almost no absorption at all. I listened to it whilst walking to some Ponzi fireworks.
Sorry, alert, Gyökeres has scored a hat-trick.
Oh.
This guy.
What's going on? 2 penalties, of course, but still.
Is it a perfect hat-trick?
Probably not if it's 2 penalties, but...
So you don't know?
You don't know
He might have mixed it up. Might have scored it with his head.
I wish he has. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I wasn't really saying anything.
I think we only really want to talk about Vic anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
I even think he's getting more gorgeous.
Yeah, that's really swarthy, isn't he?
Oh, there's a disheveledness about the hair as well now. There's a kind of he's got playing for us at the point where he joins Sporting. He's got a bit of an Ivan Drago, as far as I'm concerned, kind of like a.
I see that.
Whereas now there's this little bit of he spent some time on the beach. He's not afraid to. he's just he's relaxed a little bit more, and I think that's coming out in the gorgeousness of him. But the goals that people keep sending me, or like if I'm in WhatsApp groups of football fans, people keep saying like, "Oh, this guy looks amazing," and I'm like, this is just the same exact thing.
I'm aware.
Yeah. I feel quite affronted by it. I do. I was talking to one of my friends about the Totally Football Show's coverage of him, and the total lack of preparation. The idea that he has exploded onto the scene since he left us. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. I was there at Barnsley when he missed the penalty. I saw how bad he was and how good he became. None of that had anything to do with fucking Ruben Amorim. This is all Mark and AD. Yeah. So he could trot off to United if he so wishes. But this is our doing.
I think it's him. I don't
what do you
think
mean?
So I think it's Vic.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
I think he
but we unlocked it.
Maybe I think I like that interpretation of it. The kind of and I agree. In that article, there is a bit of we told him he was the main man and he came back for it.
Yeah.
But there's also the thing of he came back like a physical specimen, which I do think is really true and noticeable. Of that talk about him peeling off to the wings, and then not peeling off to the wings, and then the kind of the ultimate version of that, which is standing in the centre circle and saying, "Give me the ball so I can Nelson Muntz through an entire."
But it was so stark, wasn't it? I think like that first half season, I always remember him just being this player who seemed to be sort of running through treacle and taking ages to make his decision on whether to pass or not. And I couldn't believe he would become this person. Like nobody knew he was quick until suddenly you realised he was quick. And nobody realised he was strong until you realised he was strong. And those things, they just came out of nowhere.
Paul swears down that he had bad COVID. I don't know whether he's what's it. I don't know whether there's. I don't know what
bad Dom COVID, long COVID, or like...
So Dom hasn't laughed in the same way that you two have. I think that Dom might have heard that as well. Is that?
No, I haven't heard it.
No.
It's not like the opposite of long COVID, though.
No.
COVID made him stronger.
when he was at Swansea, and then he was still recovering while he was with us, apparently. So what Paul says, I don't know why I'm repeating this, because he gave no evidence or credibility to it.
No, he doesn't have a mouthpiece anymore. That's not fair. He gave that up.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
It is so odd. One, why would Brighton haven't got really any other examples of fucking up a transfer that bad, right? This is pretty unprecedented for them. And why did he look so not good at Swansea? By the way, this is how bad a source Paul is. Paul said, I could always see something when he was at Swansea. I don't
lie.
Paul has watched
lie.
I don't think Paul has watched a non-Cov game in the last 20 years. He just happens to be watching Swansea games now, does he?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I do remember when we played Swansea that year, Paul did put something on the WhatsApp saying like their number 17 looks pretty.
Don, why are you entertaining this?
Yeah, good job. I can edit this out.
Yeah. How do you even remember that? That's crazy.
Because then I remember like when he signed, I was like, I swear like someone mentioned in the WhatsApp that he stood out when he played against us.
It's a good job Paul don't listen to this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And actually, the thing that makes that kind of ring as true as can be is Paul has never learned the name of a Cov player correctly. But that even more so is to him, like how dogs can't see colour? Paul can't see opposition player names. They are only ever a number team.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you remember specifically that he's like their number 17, I found it infuriating that against Luton, you couldn't be more obvious that their number 11 was Elijah Adebayo. And yet he was like, their number 11's good. It's just like...
Remember that guy?
He was in the Premier League last season. He played against us in the playoff final. He's just been racially abused yesterday, right?
Did he know who Liam Walsh was?
He did, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Because he'd got a little. This is what's nice about this is that we sort of hit a rhythm in the last few weeks of around about the 40-minute mark where we've not got a massive amount to say about the game. We can just slag off Paul for. He got a little joke that he was trotting out about whenever someone said, "Oh, it's Liam Walsh," he'd say, "Oh, I hope he does better than he did in his last appearance, where he got sent off after coming on as a substitute."
Good one, Paul.
So he killed it there. He got some goals out.
Oh dear me.
We haven't talked about Parachute Man.
Oh, just tiresome. Just why? The worst of it was the first time you think, okay, very good, off you go, and then he came around again. I think he milked it.
Yeah.
You can't do a drone above a ground, can you?
No, not allowed. What was he doing? It was like some paraglide. I only saw the one side, which the ref didn't notice. But then I can only assume when he stopped the match, that was before Paraglider Man again, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Oh dear. What was he doing? Was he ominously close, or was he just?
I just don't think he was in control of his vehicle, was he?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure it's that. I just don't think you can have a game being played while something happens above everyone's heads.
Rain. No, can't have that.
It's FIFA Directive 5.1. If some geezer is up above the ground,
stop that.
The lads off. Okay. Well, look. Here's where we find ourselves. For better or worse, are we done?
I think we're all right. We've got a match tomorrow. We're all looking forward to it.
Can't wait.
Get going, get moving up the table. I've already been looking at the predictor. I've got a 6 by next week. It's great. We're all gonna have a great time. And Mark isn't gonna get the sack.
Very quickly, you've got a 6th by next week.
I've got a 6th in the table when I did the predictor. Just by winning every game and fixing every single match so that other teams don't win. It's never going to happen, but it's my fun. That's how I do it.
Could we just quickly before we go, unless people are in a mad rush to get off, haven't we got a tricky fixture list?
Yeah,
they're all tricky, Joey.
It reminds me.
It reminds me of
Championship, babes.
Last December. Do you remember last December? We were, oh my God, what a run we've got. Can you believe it? And inexplicably, we went unbeaten, didn't we? We looked good. It's almost like we're quite good at playing teams.
Can I shock you for a second?
I don't think you will, but go on.
I don't know how much I give a fuck about the teams that we've got coming up.
That's better.
No, Not even a Sunderland.
Well, apparently we're their bogey team as well, aren't we?
Brilliant.
I don't, look, you know how we do in the Northeast, right? That's Newcastle, Middlesbrough, Sunderland. They can't take the Midlands. That's been known since time immemorial, right? That's quite simply.
Yeah. The old
Newcastle barely even. Yeah, of course, yeah. Newcastle barely even got through in the League Cup third round 11 years ago or whatever it is.
Scott Dan, do you remember it?
I do.
Sunderland could be anything, but also, are they still top? No, wait, they're in the like top 3, maybe.
They're top.
I look at the Championship table quite a lot. Then Sheffield United at home.
Yeah,
we've got these are vibes games, guys.
Yeah, we're playing vibes, don't we? Look at this. We'd be up for all of those.
Like Sunderland has got all of the kind of insufferable internet side effects going along with it.
Yes.
Sheffield United has got. I like the idea that when Sheffield United turn up is that Gus meets the team there. And they're like, how come you didn't get the bus?
It's on the wrong team bus.
I got a lift in.
Oh, yeah.
I just lived down the road in Lem, yeah.
You've not even got your kit with you. Then Burnley away. Look, this to some extent.
Don't like
that. But
it concerns me of all of them, but not enough. Not like we can't do what we did against Leeds, can we? We can't be that scared of them.
That'll be the problem.
Yeah.
If we lose against Burnley, specifically that game, if we lose against Burnley and we put up an half decent performance, I don't think people would give that much of a shit about it, right? That's not the sort of game that you lose and be like, we've got no playoff aspirations. Like going to Burnley and losing is not the end of the world. I think really for me, it's can we keep putting performances in? We started the season where we were performing all right, but that we weren't putting the chances in, kept giving away silly goals. Then we started to play shit. Now we've pulled it back up a little bit so that we're playing well and winning, but there's an element to me of kind of this is still a little bit chaotic. If we can get through them fixtures, even with like one draw, but that you go, do you know what? Actually, it's because we've played 3 of the hardest teams in the division, but we're playing all right. It's going to be all right. Is Cardiff at home after that? Beat them 6-0 and we're good to go?
Yeah. we know how this works, don't we? And I think as much as we joke about it, that it's just 2 games. We've done something to arrest what was quite an alarming lack of confidence. We've done something there. So you'd like to think that's not festering anymore. That's kind of gone. But, like you say, there's only so much vibes can do. We do need to continue to play well. We can't just be chaotic and hope that we get more sort of wins on the basis of that. I mean, I don't think that's a sustainable way to make yourself into the playoffs. So it's really intriguing because tomorrow's the one, isn't it? That's the one. If you get 3 back to back, that sends everybody up. When's the international break? When's that coming up?
After Saturday.
Yeah.
After Saturday. So yeah, we've got a bit of work to do before that. But I think tomorrow we get 3 on the bounce. That sets everybody up to then go and really have a go at it on Saturday and finish the bit off nicely.
And again, I think there's a lot of things that help us here. I completely agree with everything that you said there. As long as we beat Derby tomorrow, 3 on the bounce, that's a game that we probably should win in the grand scheme of things. If you go to Sunderland and put up half decent fight and you lose against a team that are frustratingly good, you can probably live with it in the grand scheme of things because you can draw a line under it. And actually, probably people have forgotten about it before you go into the Sheffield United game.
Yeah.
Sheffield United feel like a team that you might be able to get at if you're playing all right, but that we'll wait and see. And Burnley again is close enough to that game that as long as then you put 6 past Cardiff. Do you know what I mean? Actually, they've got, from a political point of view,
totally.
They've got an opportunity to navigate quite a stormy water there in a nice way that means that then you don't have to get affected by it. More the big problem I think is you've got to beat Cardiff and you've got to beat Derby. And then you've got this bit of West Brom and Hull, which I think is probably more telling because I think they're more likely the teams that you could do with not getting beat by if you really are serious about the playoffs.
Yeah, we can't hack it against them. Or at least historically we haven't been able to. So we are due. No, I think it was a really good point though. It's certainly like the order in which games happen doesn't make much sense, but does affect things. And if we get things right, we can get away with not winning everyone and people not losing their minds, like things not quite going our way. Whereas you go back to back against teams maybe that you should do well against and don't. We're back to where we were, which I haven't got the patience for anymore. This Mark Robbins can go shit. So we need to get rid of that, make it as far away as possible because it's just a massive distraction.
All of the people stood on the hill at Northampton, I imagine, with their Robins out placards. But you're stood on the other side of the ground with a really, really, really tall placard to go over the stand that says, people who say Robins out.
Yeah, not in my name. Yeah, definitely.
They've been noticeable in their absence this last couple of weeks, haven't they?
Who?
The Robins out gang. Those out brigade that don't exist. Everyone else likes to imagine is there's millions. They've been quiet.
It's almost like you could predict it, which I did. Yeah.
Oh, you're clever.
I'm hard.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Fine. Let's get this show off the road. Thank you, Imogen.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dom.
Pleasure as always to be on the show.
And thank you, listener. Bye.